We are going to the Rochester Korean War Memorial. So much of our time is just spent at the university, in the library. Even if we're studying the Korean War, we're still spending so much time studying in the library, just reading about it. So I think it's really good for us to go out and connect with the world. I see that the Korean War isn't just an academic issue, this is real. It affects people's lives. So it's good for us to leave campus.
I don't know if that is involved in these issues, but for me, there's a lot to talk about.
We are trying to showcasing to Rochester that what kind of community we are and what kind of thing we are passionate to learn about, and to spread that knowledge, to say, yeah, you should also think about this more.
Basically, the concept of class is living history, and what better way to reflect that by meeting people who fought in the war or have family who fought, and so it'd be a great experience just to meet them and get to see their story.
I think it's a really, really good sum up because introducing the veterans to the class definitely added a dimension of both as living history and also it as the forgotten war, hearing their stories about how they came home and people were like, hey, where have you been? And this kind of shows that slowly society is recognizing that it's the forgotten war by setting up a memorial.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. It's connecting to more of my country's experience, and also just it's a communal experience with the class too. I think that brings people closer together, and I think it's a great thing to do.
Our national organization, Korean War Veterans, one of their major goals is to educate younger kids, starting with the grade schoolers and high schoolers, on the Korean War. Why, where, when, what. And so we're always in the market to go out and talk to people about the Korean War. And this history class at the University of Rochester has made the order for what we want done.
Not windy, it will be a lot better.
Come on, guys! You can explore the memorial. We've brought the entire classroom to this Korean War Veterans Memorial here in Pittsford. We're going to have a ceremony to commemorate the special, relationship that's developing between my students and these veterans, and how this course has changed their lives, and how this is a chance where we're living the history. We're actually bringing 18-year-olds to meet 85-year-olds, and it's something special, bringing generations together. And that's what we're trying to do here.
I'd like to welcome all of the people that's here from the U of R and all the others that are here, and it's just a wonderful thing that you're here and to honor our veterans.
It is a delight to see so many students out here that are interested in the Korean War. Sandwiched between the triumph of World War II and the agony of Vietnam, Korea has been known as the forgotten war.
First and foremost, I'm happy to be here on behalf of the whole community, our whole state, to say thank you for your service. This is a little bit interesting, a new twist. I want to thank Professor Ho for bringing these students. I think learning is important. He's a history teacher, but it's a lot better to know where you're going if you know a little bit more about your past, why things transpired, and what impact they've had. So thank you, Professor Ho, and thank you for all the students taking your interest. Absolutely, give them a hand.
I stand here today because of the incredible, brave, courageous men and women who fought for my home country, South Korea. South Koreans possesses the most precious gift, freedom. But the most precious gift always comes at a cost.
I also want to thank the veterans who have shared their remembrances of that war with our students, something which may not have been easy. I want to say to them that their memories are invaluable. They are the real history that can bind generations together teach us wisdom, deeper than the abstractions of textbooks or the cartoon heroics of movies.
My Korean War class holds a special place in my heart. It fights the injustice of the Korean War as being known as a forgotten war. It respects the history of the Korean people and the 24 nations embroiled in this truly international war. But it does more. It links the University of Rochester classroom with the community and with local memory. My efforts have not been in vain. I have watched my students grow into leaders. We have laughed together. Believe me, we have. We have laughed together, cried together. We have embraced these veterans as our grandfathers, and these community members as aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. We also cherish the memory of so many good men who perished in Korea and also died in the over 65 years since the Korean War. We have become foot soldiers in a war against time, a war that no one can win. But we have won one vital victory: remembrance. Their story has become our story.
As we dove deeper into the readings each week, I found my expectations and assumptions challenged. I was often surprised by some of the content we read, especially concerning the disconnect between the leaders of the war and the men on the ground doing the fighting. The more I read, the more I felt a deep sorrow for the soldiers, especially when I learned that they had been forgotten by the American public, even while they were still fighting in Korea. One day, my professor announced that we would have some Korean War veterans, who stand behind me, from Rochester visit the classroom. I did expect to learn much from these men, but I did not expect it to be as pivotal of a moment as it was. After listening to their stories, hearing how they were fighting a losing battle about being forgotten, I decided I needed to do something. I eventually decided to start an oral history project capturing these men's stories as a service in return for their own.
The Korean War should not be studied merely within the Rochester bubble. It should not be studied merely with reading, writing, and repeating. War, after all, is not very academic. We can theorize all day, but war is really difficult to understand if it can even be understood. But one thing I have learned in this class is that as much as war is death, it is also living.
As one of the few freshmen in this class, I came to college thinking to myself, I want to educate myself so that I can work towards something that would be personal to me, and I think that's what led me to take this class. And as a Korean American, I was always told about the horrors of the Korean War and how Korea as a nation had always suffered at the hands of powerful nations. And being very patriotic of my home country, I felt at times extremely bitter about Korea's dark history and my people who had to endure so much. But every single time, I remember my mother and father constantly reminding me that despite all the pain and politics that were involved with the war, you can never forget the American soldiers that fought for us. Again, on behalf of Korean Americans, and as someone who officially become a United States citizen this summer, my and all the Korean American people's identities exist solely due to the sacrifice made by these brave men and women half a century ago. Thank you so much. 너무나 감사합니다. Thank you.
Good relationships should not end. And so this is not simply one history class. This is something that will continue as a relationship that with the veterans and with the Korean community. We have Chinese students in the class. We have Chinese Americans. We have Korean students, Korean Americans, African Americans. We have a student from Myanmar. And my teaching assistant, Jim Rankins, from Australia. Ours is a truly international class, a very diverse class. This relationship, I think, I use the word family. We are family, and family do not forget. So the class may be over now, so the students are happy they don't have to see me anymore and listen to my bad jokes and bad music. But we are trying to produce a documentary film about this quest to live history. And the title of this documentary film will be Living History. You are that living history. We are that living history. Your story is our story. Thank you.
I got mine.
I would like to thank you for being a great guard.
With the flag.
With the flag.
Like struggling with the flag to walk down.
I'm honored to finally sacrifice.
That's good.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do that. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
I feel as though war has become humanized. So I have family that I've served, and people are either pro-war, anti-war, just indifferent. But reading the different novels and talking to Professor Ho, and Professor Ho crying a few times throughout the course, it really humanizes everything. It's so I'm able to see the heart behind it.
Yay! Look at it!
And I think this way of ending this class is, how do you say, it's very meaningful. Like, because so much of this class, I think it's about like humanizing history and making like what we learn in the books relevant to us. So us being like physically there and in communion with the veteran over there, like who actually like took part in the warfare. I think it really brings home. Like, I'm imagining myself standing there, all the classes and the readings, like the discussion we had, would just racing through my mind, and wow, this makes sense and anchored. I think that's cool.